A movement to increase diversity within the engineering and architecture professions has picked up pace. More than 150 firms in engineering and architecture are committed to equity and inclusion in a new strategy for the diversity agenda, which was formed in 2018. Earlier, we spoke to Dr. Brett Ogilvie no Ngāti Whakahemo, Ngāti Pūkeko from Tonkin and Taylor, who's a member of the steering committee for the diversity agenda.
So the diversity agenda strategy is really bringing together some work that's been done over the last few years across our industries to try and create a more diverse and inclusive environment. The strategy itself is something we've been working on for the last 12 months or so. That's taking all the good ideas and thinking and practices that are happening out there and bringing them into one place so that all of the participants can map their way forward to be more diverse and inclusive organisations.
Yeah, I love that this is happening. Probably not enough organisations are doing it, so it's so good that this is happening in this particular space. What are some of the challenges around attracting diverse people into these professions?
Yeah, ultimately it's about people working in roles within organisations. So there's sort of two challenges there that are in front of us. The organisations and the roles, we need to make those organisations welcoming of diverse people and kind of shaking off some of the bias around what an engineer or an architect looks like traditionally. So it's making them welcoming and visible. It's also working with people outside of our industry to get that visibility, to attract them to at least take a look at these professions as options for them. So there's two parts to it.
Dr. Ogilvie, what's progress been like in recent years in creating space for Māori and being able to do things like closing the gender pay equity gap?
Sure. Taking the gender pay equity gap piece first, you might be aware of the comments earlier this week from Dame Teresa Gattung about from this week onwards, women working for free through till the end of the year because of that pay equity gap. In our industry, we've done reasonably well. There's a bit of variation through the companies. Some organisations, and ours is included, have closed that gap relatively quickly. We're now down to within 1% either way. Others are a bit slower, but they can see what they need to do to get there, and the fact that some organisations are already there gives them that role model and a kind of tuakana taina relationship, so they can learn and see what others are doing and take learnings from that. In terms of Māori, that's probably a bigger challenge. We've got a smaller representation compared to the population in general than other aspects of diversity. There's been good work going on, really starting from the fundamentals around raising the understanding around Te Ao Māori, around Tikanga Māori, around Te Reo Māori, and therefore the need to have those perspectives in the industry. And we're opening up other channels than the traditional ones for Māori to enter the industry. So that's been really good to see.
And because it's the right thing to do, so it's very smart. What are some of the ways companies can engage and commit to Te Tiriti o Waitangi?
I think there's two main ways. A lot of our companies, a lot of our organisations do work on behalf of government, i.e. the Crown. So they're effectively agents for the Crown in doing that mahi and recognising the responsibility they hold as agents for the Crown as one way they can commit. So that's really getting an understanding of what Te Tiriti is about and the three principles and in particular I think the participation one. So as good treaty partners and agents for a treaty partner. Creating space for Māori to participate in the industry is a key thing. So that's sort of as agents for the Crown. I think also as good citizens, corporate citizens, the responsibility sits on our organisations to kind of be de facto Crown agents, even when we're not acting for the Crown. So that participation piece is really important in there as well.
So this is an area of expertise for you. Help us to understand then how increasing diversity helps to create a better future for New Zealand's engineering and architecture workforces.
Yeah, I heard a speaker at a conference I was at last week, and it's Paula Tesorero, who's the Chief Executive for Disability New Zealand, and she told a really good story about how we reframe disability as an example of diversity. and she said that the narrative is too often an example of the narrative is too often a story like, oh, that person can't get into the building because they're in a wheelchair. For industries such as ours, if we can reframe that to say, well, actually that person can't get into the building because of the stairs, we can bring our engineering and architecture thinking to solving the problem in that way. So that's an example of being inclusive and how we can be better in the communities that we operate by changing our thinking.
Beautiful. Dr. Brett Ogilvie from the Diversity Agenda, thank you so much for your time today and the mahi you're doing to create better workplaces. Ngā mihi.
Kia ora, Neil. Good to be with you.